Welcome to Afterthoughts with Erica. My name is Erica O'Meara, and as I begin my journey to becoming an end-of-life doula, I'm challenging myself to talk to 100 people about death, dying, and what comes next. Join me as we explore these stories and work together to make the topic of death less uncomfortable, one conversation at a time. Afterthoughts with Erica is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are solely of the speakers and do not represent legal, medical, or financial advice. This series does not supersede any written last will and testament, legal documents, or directives. Please note that this series may contain adult subject matter and with strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Afterthoughts with Erica. My name is Erica, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Kelli. She is the volunteer hospice coordinator at Bayada and sort of my new boss because because I just recently became a hospice volunteer to help me continue my journey being an end-of-life doula. So Kelli, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And oh my gosh, I am not your boss. We're just working together. And I am so grateful that you are with me. And like I said, I'm not your boss. I'm just bossy. So
I'll take it. Are you ready to answer the 10 questions?
I certainly am. You're going to have to throw them at me because I can't remember. I'm getting old.
I got
So.
you. All right. Question number 1. Are you afraid of dying?
Some ways, yes, some ways, no. I know that with beautiful advancements in things like hospice, the dying process has become so much more comfortable and the stigma of it is gone. But sometimes I'm afraid of dying because I'm leaving behind the people that I love so much and it would affect them. So I don't know how much I'm afraid of me dying or I'm afraid of what me dying would do to them. If
Sure.
that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. I think that that's a shared sentiment, especially with parents, you know?
Yeah. 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 And I think one of the biggest things is, some people go off of what their faiths are, and that is a wonderful way to be when, you're in that situation. I've been there for many people passing on, and I have seen the strength that they can find from that. Myself, I'm a woman of faith. However, I'm very quiet about it. I'm not, you have to go to church and all of that stuff. But I think sometimes too, even in my position, you don't know what happens afterwards. So that can be a tiny bit scary. But like I said, I think my biggest fear is what it does to my family, because like I said, I've been there for a lot and I've been there for the after grieving too, where I, follow up with people and I see even a year or more later how much it's affected them. So
Wow.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah. And having that knowledge, I could see how that would make it difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, is there a death in your past that profoundly changed the way that you view death and dying?
um, actually there's two deaths. So my very first um brush with death was my brother when I was 9. So he passed in a car accident. He was 19 years old. So that profoundly changed my life because it changed my mom. So it might sound weird, but I had a different mom after that. So, but actually one of the biggest people that changed my life was the very first patient I ever had pass because I saw how supported it was. And this was then I was a nurse's aide. And oh my gosh, this is 1993. And it was a gentleman at a nursing home, and he had passed away, but he had passed comfortably and peacefully in hospice. But I didn't understand what hospice was back then. I was young. I was just a nurse's aide. I thought, you go somewhere and you just die, and then the funniest thing is I was like, oh my gosh, most people die at nighttime. Like, I don't know why in my head I thought that when I was so young, but he passed peacefully during the day. and it was supported, and it was one of my first times that I had seen death outside my family. I was there for the actual death. So that did change me right there. It actually kind of made me want to go into what I'm doing now. Which, well, not what I'm doing now as a volunteer coordinator, but go into hospice. So that was one thing that did change me.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I don't think it's weird at all that you think about having like a different mom, because that's definitely, it is a different mom. She
Yeah.
went from having her total amount of kids to one less kid. So she was different, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I think too, at 9 years old, that death was it was not an easy one, because when he passed, they decided to donate his organs. And back then, you're little, you don't understand that. So, but you just saw what it did to your parents, to your brothers, your sisters. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
it was enough to really make a profound impact, that was a major changing point in my mom's life. And funny fact, my mom died 35 years to the day that my brother died, and was buried on this.
Wow.
Yep. Buried on the
Wow.
same day 35 years later.
That is deep.
Yeah, I think my mom passed from cancer. And I think that day was very profound for her. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I
Yeah,
also want to say, oh, go ahead.
I had kind of a creepy feeling. This is really weird. My brother got into the car accident at 2:30 in the morning. She died at 2:30 in the morning.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was weird. It was when my sister called me at 3 o'clock that morning. I was like, you had that feeling, and I looked at my husband and I said, I knew this was coming today. So, because
Yeah.
she was fine, we were baking apple pies together that day. At 7 o'clock that night, I was pulling the apple pies out of the oven and saying, Mom, I'm really tired. I want to go home. I'll see you tomorrow. And she said, We'll see. I love you. And then died at 2:30 that morning, which was when my brother had gotten into the accident, was 2:30 that morning.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's like your brother called her home.
Yeah. That was profound. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
totally get the aspect of having the death of your very first, patient death,
Yeah.
um, shaping where you are in your career. I
Yeah.
I am also inspired by the people that I work with, and that's why I'm doing this. It's I
Yeah.
I get
It
that.
sounds really odd, but I'm grateful to him. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
I I shared what was left of his life with him, and he was a very kind man. He couldn't speak, and because he had been very sick, but he was a very kind man, and he would just reach out and hold your hand and squeeze it. I can remember him squeezing my hand, and he had just passed later that afternoon, and I was like, wow, that wasn't scary at all, because scary was what I experienced with my brother, and this was not scary. So,
And what a
yeah.
blessing that was to sort of correct that sort of fear of it for you.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Yeah. It was wonderful.
that's amazing. I love stories like that. It's just my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, do you believe in the afterlife?
Yes and no. I believe in energy. I believe in, I'm not 100% sure where we go in the afterlife. I believe that there is something, but I don't know if I'm into like the whole everyone's looking down on you. I believe they're here and giving you energy. You know what I mean? I believe in things like heaven and things like that. I think heaven is what you make it,
I believe
and
that too.
yeah, and I 100% believe that one of the biggest things for someone is if that is what they believe. You live in their world because they find the comfort from that. I would never, at the end of somebody's life, say, I don't think you're going there. I'd say, if that's where you're going, hold my hand and I'll be here with you until you go. If they wouldn't have family there or something, but, and then I would talk to the family and say, you know, if that's where they want to go, you live in their world because
I've,
that's where the peace and the comfort is.
yeah, I've thought about if I were to ever like work with children
Hmm.
and they posed the question, like what happens after I die? It's like what do you think happens after you die?
Hmm.
And then that sounds awesome,
Yeah.
and then that's what happens. I
Yep.
think that being on board with people's beliefs, even though they're not your own, is
Hmm.
so important in this work because it
Yes.
doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter.
No. And I think too, that lets someone pass with dignity. That lets someone pass that goes to the peace that we all talk about, passed peacefully. Because dying really isn't a medical thing. When dying, it's a natural thing. Just like your hair growing isn't a medical thing, dying is not a medical thing. Dying is a spiritual for some people. Some people it is just a process. Some people it's, just it is what they've thought it was going to be their whole life. So it's like I said, it's not a medical, it's an action, it's a process,
Yeah.
and but removing yourself from that action and process and see what your spirituality is or what your beliefs are two total different things.
I like
So
looking at it like a natural process too. I think that makes
yeah,
it a little bit easier to like understand, not even understand, just be at peace with. It's just a
yeah,
natural thing that happens.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
So if you could have an ideal death, what would that look like?
One where my family was supported, one where I was comfortable, not just for me, but for them, so they don't have to scary, and one where other people could learn from it.
I
So
like that component.
yeah, like I would want my death to be, so say I died in a car accident this morning. I would want that to be something where I could, yes, I would give my organs, yes, I would give those things, but I would want people to be able to learn from my passing, who would be able to be there to support my family, or even the nurses and the doctors that had to be there to pronounce, things like that. I would want, if I were to be dying from something long term where I was on hospice, I would want them to bring nursing students in. I would want them to bring um, and social worker interns in. I would want people to learn from me to pass on longer, you know, eh, to so other people could die peacefully and gracefully, and if it was traumatic, other people could be both supported because of what they learned from me.
And
I
your death
going out with
maybe
a
could
bang.
be the catalyst, just like your, first patient, your first patient that passed on was a catalyst for you.
Yeah,
Hopefully your death can be a catalyst for somebody else's growth.
absolutely. And I think that is one of the things that you learn when you're in hospice, that sometimes when someone is passing, it's about them. But as they've passed, it's no longer about them. It's about the people who are left behind. And it's not even just the family that is left behind, it is the workers that were there. It's even the funeral home. It's, the people who dug your grave. It's everybody, what you've left behind, the legacies, as you could say, what you've left behind. And I want my legacy to be that people learned from me.
That's beautiful. If you could take one thing with you in death, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. That's a really good one. I'm not 100% sure. Um, if I could take some, I would take my cell phone so I could call my family.
Oh, that's a first time answer. I love that one.
Yeah. I mean, I if it came to objects, it would have to be objects that um connected me to my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the cell
Even
phone answer.
yeah. So, yep. And my
Yeah.
charger. If my kids didn't steal my charger, I'd have to take my charger.
That's
That
probably
would
a
be
big
my luck.
ask. That's a
That would,
big ask.
yeah. I'd be up there asking everybody, hey, anybody got a charger I can borrow?
Or you'd like only have the cord and not the block to like plug in.
Exactly. Exactly.
Where's
Oh
the
my gosh. Yep. Yep.
How
Absolutely.
how do you want your funeral to go?
Okay, so funny story, and I'll tell it really quick. When my father passed away, all he wanted was, and he passed away in Pennsylvania, but he was going to be buried in Ohio. So all he wanted was he did not want a funeral, he just wanted a big party. Well, it was very expensive to transport his body from here to Ohio. So my sister and I put him in the back of my car. The funeral home, yep, we got a biohazard and they embalmed him and put him in a big box that said this side up and stuck him in
Oh
the back of
my
my car.
gosh.
And he said, and this is what my dad said to me. He goes, "You guys, I don't want a huge funeral for me, but whatever you have to do for you guys, you do." So, but he said, "I just want a big party. You just party it up." So we had this party at my sister's house and a bunch of our friends and family came and his friends and and everybody kept saying, "Oh God, I wish Lee could be here to see this." Well, I was like, he's closer than you think. He was in my garage in the car, in the garage in the car. But that made me go, okay, this really wasn't for my dad. This was for everybody else. So whatever anybody wants to do with me, if they want to float me out to sea, they want to do whatever, I'm fine with it. I'm good.
Yeah. When you said you put your dad in the back of your car, I was totally picturing like a weekend at Bernie's kind of thing with you and your
You know,
sister, and you're like your dad in the back seat, like just sort of propped there, like, yep,
yes.
let's go, girls.
No, it was a box that said this side up.
Oh, at least it didn't say fragile, you know?
Oh my God. I could see him wearing one leg with that fishnet stocking on it. That would have been him
Must be
totally.
Italian.
Yep. No, he was Irish. Oh God, if I called him Italian, he'd probably be mad.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Yeah, but like I said, I have learned so much from the journey that I've had, not just from, my mother dying, my father dying, my brother dying, grandparents, the numerous people I've been with when they've died, you know, the funerals are for them. I'm gone. God wish I could take my cell phone with me, like I said, but I'm gone. If I mean, if they want to cremate me because it's cheaper, if they you do whatever they want to do. If they can use parts of my body for anything, go right ahead. You're more than welcome to, you know?
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think with your medical background and your hospice background, it has just cultivated a different type of view around it.
it really has. It has. Yep.
So at your funeral, if you had a playlist, what are some songs that would be on it?
Mm, Highway to Hell. That would be a great one. My
Oh
kids
my,
would love that.
now I just see you like blazing down the highway with your sister and your dad in the back of the car, like headbanging
Yeah.
to Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell. Yep. Um, Actually, I think I would have Post Malone because I love Post Malone. Um, I would have things that would make people laugh. I would have things that would make people cry. I would tell them just take my playlist and hit mix, you know. Um, but otherwise, I'm not. I Michael Bublé, anybody, anything. But yeah, my dad was a truck driver, so one of the things my sister and I did was made a CD of truck driver songs, And we played them when we were driving out to Ohio. So those are the things and those were what we found comfort from because that's what he
Absolutely.
listened to. So maybe whatever my kids would find comfort from. I mean, my kids and I used to sing Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy together all the time when they were little. So I'm sure that would be a good one, those kinds of things.
I see what your
Whatever they,
funeral's shaping up to be, Kelly. I see what your
yes.
funeral's shaping up to be. Okay.
Yep. Yep. I have to find, the medium ground of humor because that's how it's one of the things that I use. And comfort and peace for the ones that are left behind. And, those things they find comfort from. So there you go.
Yeah. I've started my funeral playlist on my YouTube channel that this will be on. I also have a playlist for my funeral playlist that I'm cultivating. So,
There you
just
go.
to help people out. You can
Yeah.
just, it's like handing it over and just say, here you go, just press play.
Yep. The hit mix. There you go.
Yeah. What do you want done with your body after you die?
Oh my gosh. So, like I said, if it's cheaper for my family, cremate me, I probably would prefer that. But I think I told you this the other day. One of the things that I, I keep telling my husband, I'm going to have my ashes turned into a diamond ring. So if he ever gets married again, he has to use me to propose, and I will always be there to see her. I will be in control.
Oh my gosh, yes, you did tell me that, and I totally forgot
Yes.
about it until just now, and I love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, for me, just cremate me because, there's a lot of places in this world, like here, as I'm sitting outside the church where all the gravestones have been moved. I wouldn't want to have to be moved later on. Just cremate me. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes,
So
because it's definitely a finite thing, space
it is.
on Earth.
It is. So yeah, and if you make me into a pretty little diamond ring, it can be passed on for generations.
It absolutely could. I mean, that actually is a beautiful thought, is, passing a diamond ring on for generations. Now, this question, obviously, you're going to haunt your husband's new wife, but if you could haunt somebody in death, who would you haunt?
My husband. Husband. If he doesn't go before me, he had better sleep with one eye open because I have been torturing that man for 30 years. What I'm going to continue, you know?
Oh my gosh.
But I do think, yeah, he would be the one, like I don't think he could ever get rid of me.
Do you think you would
So
like push over like glasses of water and stuff like that and be mischievous? Or do you think that you would just sort of like do reminders?
I, you know what? He's not an emotional man. He's one like me who uses humor. He's very quiet and introverted. So I think I would like do things when other people were around to get the goat out of him. And then when he was by himself, I would just do quiet reminders for his comfort.
I think that's
But
fair.
yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah, I would balance it out for him. Yeah. I wouldn't want to creep him out too much.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to
Yeah.
make people like uncomfortable.
So, I don't know, maybe.
Maybe
There's some days that
sometimes.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, I think that would be it.
Okay. So our
Yeah.
last question is, what do you people, oh, I'm sorry. The last question is, what do you want people to remember you for after you die?
I want people to remember that I was kind. I want people to remember that life is beautiful and that that's a really deep question. But yeah,
Mhm.
I want people to remember kindness. And I want people to remember not to tear other people down to build yourself up, because that's one thing I always say.
I
You
love
know,
that sentiment.
there is two things in this world that matter to me: how I made someone else feel and how they feel later, you know. So that would be what I would want them to remember me for: kindness.
That's great. I love that
Yep.
one. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me today. It's always wonderful seeing
Thank
your
you.
face.
Thank
And
you.
I
I'm
will
so
see you
excited.
in the field soon.
Oh, yes, I'll be calling you. Thank
I'm
you
so
so much for
excited.
having me. This was wonderful.
Yeah, and thanks for spreading the word too. I appreciate it.
I will. I will. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I'll see you.
Yep, I'll see you, Kelly.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Trigger warning, this episode
If you haven't
features
answered the
talks of
10 questions
suicide.
yet,
Please
please
take care while
consider signing up
listening.
to be part of this important conversation. Let's continue breaking the silence together. See you next time.